So, Mr. Clerk, you want to
Yep.
commence?
Mr. Chair, Clay McCarter with the CLA's office. Item 1 on the regular agenda is a communication from the mayor and a CLA report relative to a revised budget for the 39th program year of the Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan.
Okay, so let me begin by saying that this is the Housing Committee, and I am the chair. We are here with the president. We don't have quorum, but that does not prohibit us from moving forward and taking the reports. I want to say to everybody, thank you for being here this afternoon. We are all concerned, as we expressed last time. None of us are in public service to be engaged in the types of proposals and cuts that were presented to us, and none of us are committed to them. Both the president of the council and myself have spent probably as much time on your side of the table than we've spent on this side. And so we're all in this together to make sure that we do all that we can to make sure that all of you remain at least at a status quo or somewhere close to that, an operational budget that you need. Things are getting better. The economy's up. Revenues are up, but not here in the city yet. We're still in a deficit. The state is doing better. They have a surplus. I don't know the status of the county. How are they doing?
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, they were really fiscally conservative with Zev and Yvonne, so they're in a better position than we are. But we're not in the position we want to be. The services we provide are for people who have tremendous need. We share those life experiences, all of us, and so we want to get through this together. I think it's important to put that out there so that all of us understand that we are doing all that we can to make sure that everybody, at the end of the process, maybe not today, but at the end of the process, we see that all of us will be able to walk away with an operational situation similar to the situation that you began with. And that's our commitment. And then we hope that from there forward we can make other strategies that position us in a better position to have the benefits of an improving economy and an improving political situation. So that's where we're at, Mr. President. You want to make any comments?
Only to say that, your committee, there's a special place in my heart because when I first got here, I chaired it. This is a very important issue that you're dealing with, and I wanted to be present on as much of it as I can be.
Okay, with that, we're hearing from the mayor's office, right?
Actually, Mr. Chair, the CLA office recommends that you adopt the CLA.
Oh, yeah. So item 1, we are going to approve the report and move it to council. So that will hold in abeyance till we get to quorum, right? Can we get public comment? General public comment. Any general public comment? There we go. Christy McCall.
Yeah, Christy.
You in the room, Christy?
Yeah, she's in the back.
Christy, come on up.
Relax, Chris. Sit down and relax.
Well, I was invited to come to this meeting because I talked to Yvonne Farrow from the mayor's office. And I had a concern because I had talked to Mr. Wesson's office about a property that HCID owns from, according to Housing Department, from CRA. And I want to make my community a lot better. And there's a small property next to my mother's that, since she's doing demolition for construction, and she wants to build a family-friendly community because we have 3 schools in the neighborhood, an elementary, a middle school, and a preschool. And there's nothing really there for the kids. It's just walk home looking,
Right.
basically a 4-wall room. And all I wanted to say is that if I can get a meeting or something started to build on this property, HUD housing, anything, to help the city out, plus have community, family-friendly.
Put the lots together.
Mr.
Mixed use.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
let me try to help Christy out a little bit here. She had contacted my office under the impression that the property in question was in the district that I represent, and I'm proud to say that we did the very best, to try to assist her. And then it was discovered that the property is in your district. So I was going to request if you would just have your person who handles these issues meet with Christy and her mom.
Mhm.
And that would mean the world to me, because we wanted to do the best we could to help her. So if we could get a commitment for your meeting and afford Christy to...
Bring in all my plans, everything is drawn up to get started and ready to go, and I just want to, make this community better, because I do live in Koreatown, and there's not a lot for those kids in there, and I know, they want a skateboard, they want this, they
Yep.
want that, and I like to produce that and show that LA can be a better community, because we're near Koreatown, downtown, and
You're in the great new first district. You're going to make the first number one, as we say, right?
right.
Okay.
But that's all I wanted to say.
So if you could have a deputy get with her,
Yes.
Mr. Cedillo, and they
Yep.
could set the meeting. Where's Mom?
Jen will-
Mom, wave so Mr. Cedillo can see you in the back.
Jan's going to give you her card, and you're going to come to my office. We're going to do this meeting, and then we can chat after, and then we'll get you on track and start scheduling that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for committing yourself to making the city a better city.
I would love to make it a better city, because I've lived in LA since I was born, and it is a great place to live.
Yes, it is, especially the first.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we vote on this receive and file? We didn't have quorum. Do we reconsider, or we just move it?
Mr. Chair, I think the committee has quorum now, so we can move on item 1.
Okay, so committee has quorum. We're going to move to council. Motion?
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, would you like to move to item 2 on the special agenda?
Yes.
Item 2 on the special agenda is a communication from the mayor relative to the budget for the 40th program year of the Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan 2014-15 Second Year Action Plan.
And the committee has now adjourned the regular meeting.
Yes. Now we can bring the mayor's office. Ms. Kim, how are you? Good to see you.
Thank you.
And Rush, could you please join us also?
Good afternoon, council members.
Good afternoon.
My name is Susan Kim. I'm with the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. I work with Deputy Mayor Kelly Bernard. Thank you for having me here to talk about the Program Year 40 Action Plan. As you know, the Consolidated Plan is an important vehicle for ensuring that we have good jobs, affordable housing, and quality living environments in our low and moderate income communities. It consists of 4 entitlement grants: CDBG, Community Development Block Grant; ESG, Emergency Solutions Grant; Home Investment Partnership, as well as HOPWA, Housing Opportunities for People with AIDS. 2 weeks ago, our office presented the 39th Program Year Action Plan, so I'm here today to talk about the 40th. As you know, resources in CDBG have decreased over the past few years. Since 2010, CDBG funds decreased by 35% and home by almost 60%. HUD hasn't yet announced the entitlement grant amount for Program Year 40, but the Department of Housing and Community Investment Department projects a 5% reduction in the entitlement amount. So, as has been happening for the past few years, we have fewer dollars, so it becomes particularly important that we be very thoughtful, particularly in serving our low and moderate income communities. The process was launched in October of 2013 with the mayor's letter. The mayor's priority, as indicated in that letter, was getting Angelinos back to work and also making certain that City Hall helped make different communities across Los Angeles more livable. HCID and CCFS convened community meetings across the city to solicit input on the action plan and priorities. HCID received almost 150 requests. HCID diligently worked through the different requests to assess eligibility. Thereafter, we used 3 primary criteria for selecting projects. First was alignment with the mayor's priority outcomes, the outcomes being good jobs, livable and attractive neighborhoods, safe communities, and sustainable and livable city. The second criteria was gap financing. Because of the need for supporting the economic recovery, we want to provide gap financing to finish off projects. So we have dollars on the street now in the near term. Finally, because of the tremendous demand for dollars in CDBG, we only solicited applications for the economic development and neighborhood improvement buckets of dollars. Due to this tremendous demand in dollars, our office is proposing to continue to support the Neighborhood Improvement Fund as well as the Economic Development Fund. The Neighborhood Improvement Fund is an opportunity to increase the livability of different neighborhoods across the city in the various council districts. It lines nicely with the mayor's Great Streets Initiative as well as a transit-oriented consolidated plan that the council passed last year, in addition to other place-based initiatives across the city. The Economic Development Fund, and we proposed $3 million for the Economic Development Fund, provides critical investment dollars that lead to jobs as well as economic activity. In the attachment or in the transmittal, in attachments G and H, are summaries for these 2 funds. We look forward to working with council to develop more detailed requests or guidelines for these 2 funds. Along with council, we're also interested in ensuring the proper use of the funds, transparency and efficiency, and maximizing these dollars. As was discussed at length at the last Housing Committee meeting, council members well articulated the impact of the Community-Based Development Organization Strategy, CBDO. As you know, CDBG caps the public service dollars at 15%. So in the current program year 39, CDBG currently funds almost around $30 million in public service and CBDO. In the 40th program year, the public service cap is $15.6 million. So that's quite a significant reduction from 30 to 15.6. The CBDO category was originally proposed because the city was trying to enhance the public service cap and work with HUD to develop this strategy. But of late, HUD is interpreting the regulations differently and has clearly indicated in the middle of January that the CBDO category is no longer an option for the city. I know that HCID has had many conversations with HUD to see if there's any opportunity for a transition or any relief, because we continue to have the same belief that the CBDO category is still a viable option. But HUD has said in no uncertain terms that we can no longer use that category, and as the council members articulated in the last meeting, we don't wish to jeopardize our CDBG dollars. So one thing I want to note was that the programs currently funded in 39th program year under both categories are fine. But program year 40 is a different story. So many organizations and different departments receive CDBG funding Given the significant impact, the mayor's office worked with council leadership, with HCID, with the CAO and CLA's offices to determine the best path forward for the city. Per HUD's direction, the city has no option but to proceed without CBDO, unfortunately. It's a difficult path for the city. It's a difficult path that I think everyone here appreciates. With much difficulty, our office submitted a transmittal that does not include services in the CBDO category, and all the public services fall under the $5.6 million public service cap. We did create a budget in attachment I of other programs where we are committed, along with council leadership, to identify other resources to fund these projects. In order to move forward on this, a lot of difficult decisions had to be made and reductions needed to be made to fund as many programs as possible, and in an attempt to try to minimize the impact. It's not a decision that we entered into lightly, and it was a difficult decision, but we appreciated the partnership of council and CLA and CAO in the conversations. So.
Okay. Before I get to Rush, any questions, Mr. Fuentes, or? No?
Good afternoon, council members. Rushmore Cervantes with the Housing and Community Investment Department. I echo what Ms. Kim's statements were relative to the city making every effort it could to get the Housing and Urban Development Department to provide the city at least a one-year transition period in order to us to be able to reshape our service delivery model for program year 41, which would begin April 2015. Being that they were not going to allocate or grant the city that luxury, I think the mayor's office working with the council office put forth, I think, a very, mindful budget that addresses the needs of the service providers that are here in this room, as well as that are not here, that received funding last fiscal year or the current fiscal year, and that now with whatever modifications the council deems appropriate to the mayor's consolidated plan, I think it's at that point now the city, i.e. the council, the mayor's office and our office roll up our sleeves and really start working in earnest to develop the new service delivery model for the subsequent program year. So with that, I can answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
I'm good.
Just to clarify, so we're talking about the 39th year and the 40th year, or just 39th year?
40th year.
Okay, so we're not talking about the 40th. This is just 39th.
The 39th year was just approved by just moments before you arrived, Councilman, adopting the CLACO report.
We did that purposely.
Appreciate that.
As soon as you lose.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Any comments? Yeah, we got. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys to surrender your seats for a moment, and then let's hear from public comment, and then we can come back. Okay?
And just to be clear, that was the presentation. We're going to do public comment, and then we'll have a conversation about...
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Parker Anderson. And let's bring Raul Estrada also up. Raul?
Good afternoon. I'm Parker Anderson with the Watts Labor Community Action Committee. We're a member of the Coalition of Family Source Centers. Want to say that the mayor's office has done a Herculean job trying to go from $31 million worth of programs down to 15 is really inconceivably difficult. We support the mayor's plan with the caveat. I guess that's always the trick thing there. There are people who will follow me who are a lot smarter and a lot more articulate, such as Raul, to talk about the Family Source Center and the critical nature of what we do and the tremendous success we've had. So I'm going to defer to some of the other folks. What I'd like to do today is just quickly frame the financial conversation with respect to the Family Source Centers very quickly. The current funding for the Family Source Centers is about $11.8 million. They each get about $738,000. The current sources of funding are the 39th year of $7.8 million and the CSBG of $4 million. The 40th year recommendation reduces us from $7,891,000 to $6,522,000. If we assume that the CSBG dollar amount stays the same, that would mean an overall reduction of the Family Source Centers of about $1.3 million. Obviously, we don't know what's happening with respect to the Community Services Block Grant, which is the other half of the funds that fund our centers. What we would simply urge, in recognizing what the mayor had to go through, was that the $1.3 million be made up for either in an increase in the community service block grant, if there is savings in the community services block grant, if the city chooses to reduce its administrative draw on the community services block grant, we would appreciate those funds being utilized to restore full funding for the family source centers. I would also like to point out that in attachment I, there are a number of meritorious programs. The mayor's office, working with the council, will seek additional funds or way of funding those social services programs. In that process, if there are additional funds identified, that would be another source of funds that could make the family source centers whole. So we support the mayor's plan. We feel we need to address the $1.3 million difference, and that's our recommendation how to do it. I also want to make a pitch for the aging programs. We run a senior citizen program since 1978. We would urge you to find the money for all the programs in attachment I. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Councilmember Fuentes, Councilmember Cedillo, Councilmember Price, Councilmember Weston. Tough times, difficult times, difficult decisions. I want to also echo what Parker also said. I applaud you. I applaud the council's efforts and the mayor's efforts in really, grappling with this ginormous issue in terms of what decisions in terms of these budget cuts. What I want to say is I am the executive director for El Centro de Ayuda, and we are the lead agency for the Family Source Center in Boyle Heights. But I'm not here to speak on behalf of El Centro de Ayuda. I'm here to speak on behalf of the system, the Family Source system as a whole. As you know, we spoke before you at the last committee members meeting, and we talked about the fact that the Family Source system is, in fact, the city's primary anti-poverty program. And I also want to say that, to a certain extent, it really is the last line of defense for a lot of our families that do not qualify for any other services because of their documentation status. So, point being is I thank you. I applaud you. I also want to echo what Parker said, that is any opportunities in which to keep the agencies whole, because an $85,000 cut to the budget means a reduction either of a partner or of case managers, and that kind of obviously impacts our ability to provide those services. But thank you, and I really applaud you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Ben Shermer and Hasmin Harbour.
Good afternoon. I guess this is going to be a recurring theme. Ben Shermer, Executive Director for Rainbow Services. We're a domestic violence shelter operation down in the San Pedro area. I also want to say thank you for going through all these very difficult decisions. We know this is an incredibly difficult time. We appreciate the city's commitment to still funding domestic violence shelter operations. Similar to the last speaker, it's a $493,000 cut to domestic violence shelter operations, and currently a woman's murdered approximately every 12 days in LA County. Our concern is that any reduction in shelter beds is going to mean that the homicide rate for domestic violence victims is only going to go up. Our funding has been dropping over time, and this is going to be a significant reduction to the number of shelter beds that will be available to domestic violence victims. So similarly, the also popular attachment I, we know that CDBG funding, you're between a rock and a hard place with that, but we hope and would urge that the city somehow find a way to make up that cut of $493,000. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Yasmin Tyrer, and I'm from the Genesee Center, which also supports women and children domestic violence victims. I'm not going to be repetitive. I just want to say that Genesee is a willing partner, and that we hope that we can work together with you to do whatever we can to provide a minimal impact to all of the agencies that would be impacted by the possible cuts of funding. So we're willing to sit at the table, bang on some doors, write some letters, and do whatever we can on behalf of the underserved in Los Angeles County. Thank you.
Thank you. Tammy Breno? Tammy Breno and Howard Turner.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Tammy Membreño. I'm the Executive Director for Battery Action Youth and Family Center. We run the Lincoln Heights Family Source Center that covers Lincoln Heights and also El Sereno. One of the things that I want to point out today is that those two areas are, like many other areas, very deficient in different resources. And one of the things that we're looking at is in supporting, you all, the work that you have done, and also the mayor's office. We want to make sure that you also understand that the cuts that can happen will have a great impact in the communities that we serve. Some of the, having conversations with the representatives from the council offices, we see that those two areas, at least that the Family Source Center for Lincoln Heights covers, don't have many resources that can bring social and human services to those areas. So what we're looking at is not only the decrease in funds to support other organizations like the subcontractors that we have under our grants, but also including other community members to be able to have the services. So I applaud your efforts and would like to continue having that conversation with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Turner.
Good afternoon, Councilman. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to address you. I'm Harold Turner. I'm the Program Director with NAMI Urban Los Angeles.
Yes.
And we provide education, support, and advocacy for families who are affected by severe and persistent mental illness. Over the last year, we have provided services to over 250 families and individuals. Unfortunately, mental illness has a much wider reach than just the individual affected, but it affects families, it affects their employment status, it affects the individuals. And I wish that many of you didn't know what I was talking about, but available statistics don't support that. 1 in 4 families are affected by severe mental illness. These people also, employment, the dropout rates, they are the most undiscussed population. We work with the families so the families understand what's going on with their loved ones so they can provide education and advocacy for them as well and support them. It falls to the families, and for the individuals that we're able to get back on a recovery track, we do now, the prospects are good. Right now, we're poised on the cusp of being able to educate and provide employment for these people through training initiatives that are going on now, county-wide. We've done outreach not only in our district. We reside in Councilman Weston's district, and we're doing good work there and partnering with other community organizations there like West Angeles Church and others who've been so supportive of us. We've worked in Councilman Buscagliano's office, with the Children's Institute out there to help those families who have children affected. But we've also moved into the Boyle Heights area. We've partnered with a good faith-based partner there who provides us with the space and all the logistic support we need to offer our services there in Spanish. So we want to make this service available to all, and we want to be able to train those people who are in recovery in addition to educating them as we're doing now, but to provide them with an opportunity for employment. That opportunity is there now through something called Health Navigators, but it requires training. And we provided those trainings. We have a couple available now. We'd like to get more available. So our allocation is small, but the effects are high. We really want to build on the momentum we've started and leverage the relationships we have now with other people in the community to provide something for people who are in recovery to look forward to. And these people who are in recovery are really looking forward to doing meaningful work. And that work, that health navigation work is important to the city and to the county, gets people out of the emergency room, teaches them how to make and keep appointments, how to have conversations, with caregivers. The dollar impact is high. and it's a small investment. So I would ask you to please consider that, when you have to make the tough decisions you have to make. I don't envy you. Thank you.
If I could
President, please.
could just jump in, all of the groups that come before us today are phenomenal, and the work they do is outstanding. But I owe you a visit, and I don't know if I messed up where related to the communication, but in the back, Andrew, I want you to talk to Mr. Turner because I indicated I was going to come to a Saturday session, and I have not done that. And looking at you, I still have some memory left, so I'd like to do that, and I'd like to do it quickly. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Turner, also let me tell you, don't undervalue what you're doing. Right? You're very modest, very humble.
Yes,
It's very important on the individual level, but also you're the conduit for all of us here.
Yeah.
Every project in our district, we sit with a developer. We want local hire, right? We want a living wage. We want impact on the community. But we can't go out and do that. We rely on you. So we know that you're our investment. You're the only way we make LA as it's growing, and you see cranes everywhere. But I'm going to be provincial about this. We have too many people driving in for those jobs when we have able-bodied people here in the community who can work every aspect of those jobs. But we rely on you to do that. So don't be, I know you're a modest, humble man, but don't get a little boisterous when it's necessary, because we value you and appreciate you. And so I just want to let you know that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Sherry Vaughan and Don Casey Lovelace.
Good afternoon, council members. Thank you for your time today. I represent Partners in Care Foundation as Director of Advocacy and Outreach, and we know and appreciate that you understand the plight of the aging population in Los Angeles. The CDBG funds that we receive as a contractor with the Department of Aging are currently being used to proliferate evidence-based health promotion programs, which means we teach frail seniors how to manage their chronic health conditions. And the result of that is that they become better community members, more engaged. Their caregivers have more time to go back to work because they can take care of themselves at home. And it's really important to the evolution of healthcare reform that these programs spread. There's a push out of Washington under the National Council on Aging to get these programs spread as far and wide as possible. So we can't afford to lose momentum over the next year in terms of this work. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Dawn Casey Lovelace. I'm the Civic Engagement Coordinator for St. Barnabas Senior Services, which is in the 1st District.
Yes, it is.
Our
Parkview. On Parkview? Is that right?
Carondelet.
Carondelet.
Yes.
Next street over.
Yes, and our service area spans the districts of Councilman Price and Weston as well. And I'm here to speak to the evidence-based programs that are funded. The evidence-based programs are at the core of St. Barnabas's wellness and longevity strategy to keep seniors feeling well, living well, and aging well, which is our motto. These programs are significantly proven to help older adults prevent disease, injury, and help them better manage chronic health conditions. And this small pool of funding to aging services allows us to provide thousands of classes to improve the hundreds of most vulnerable seniors in the Mid-City area and improve their quality of life. It could be a woman stricken with arthritis or needing mobility, but these programs are vital to them being able to have a more fuller, richer life. And these evidence-based programs being cut, will affect thousands and thousands of people just in the Mid-City area alone.
Yes.
Thank you.
We need to think about more creative alternative funding as well.
Yes.
Is there ACA, is there us going back and looking at ACA as...
Probably not in the next year, but the good news about evidence-based programs is that through the evolution of work that's being funded by the Hartford Foundation and the Administration on Community Living, we're looking to create regional networks for service delivery. And through these networks, the health plans that are responsible for the duals, Medi-Medis, will begin to have to pay for the services that we provide, and evidence-based programs are on the top of the list of the services they will have to provide. So eventually, all these wonderful community-based organizations who have been delivering these through government funds and foundation funds will be actually getting paid through the health plans. We just need the interim support until we can get there to build these networks.
Got it.
Okay?
And that interim period is a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
A year, 2 years.
5? Do I hear 6?
They're covering themselves.
We're going to shoot for 2.
Just the realist on the staff.
It's super fine.
Good.
Thank you.
That sounded like my staff when I say something and they say, it can't get done, needs more time. Beverly, Ventris, and Phyllis. Willis?
Good afternoon, council members. I'm board chair of the Valley Interfaith Council, commonly known as VIC, that resides, and we serve the greater San Fernando Valley, and I'm proud to say this year we celebrate our 50th anniversary of service to the residents of the San Fernando Valley. Briefly, we have 4 multi-purpose senior centers. One is in Councilman Felipe Fuentes' council district. At each of these, we offer a multitude of services to seniors, which is our primary population. In addition to, we have Meals to the Homebound, Meals on Wheels program. We have food pantries that are operated by a coalition. So we cover the spectrum of services and have done so for 50 years. We are proud to partner with many different agencies. Partners in Care is one, and I'm here to speak that, again, the CDBG funds would greatly affect our evidence-based programming that is run at our different centers that helps hundreds in the ways that have already been described by Sherry Revord from Partners in Care and from St. Barnabas. It would be $80,000 in funds that would impact us. We've trained our center directors with these evidence-based programs, again, for the reasons described. They help in so many ways. It's on the forefront of healthcare. So we would ask for the reasons I put before you and have others to rethink the funding and to whatever alternate funding may have, let it be extended for 1 to 2, 5 years, whatever it may take. We appreciate the struggle that everyone is facing and all the other great organizations, and we just ask for a little more understanding and time for our constituency. Thank you.
Thank you. Phyllis?
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for allowing all of my colleagues and myself to be here on behalf of this very great cause. And thank you very much for all the work that you've done so far that we're still on the table. You know, we still have an opportunity to receive funding through another source. I wanted to speak to something a little bit different because I wanted to paint a picture of how this evidence-based programs really work on the ground. If I didn't mention my name, of course, it's Phyllis Willis. I'm the Director of Senior Programs for Watts Labor Community Action Committee. We serve approximately 22 zip codes in the city of Los Angeles and about 7 in the county, providing many of the services that was discussed and about 720 homebound meals in the Compton, Watts, South LA, above Slauson and down to El Segundo. These evidence-based programs is what I want to focus on. If I take a look at what we've done so far year to date, we're up at 397% above our contractual requirement. And that takes a look at diabetes, Many folks are actually in the hospital today, going back, readmitting time and time and time again, which puts a drain on local Medicare dollars, puts a drain on the hospital staff and the hospital dollars. Since the evidence-based program started in 2010, my colleagues and I'll speak to my staff of about 5 of us, we decided that, you know what, the folks that aren't getting served, that don't go for self-management for their diabetes, that are going blind and that do have their legs amputated, those folks aren't coming to the Kaiser's health education programs. Those folks are not seeing their doctors regularly. So we decided to go out, and now we have approximately 12 senior housing sites that we provide services to seniors who have diabetes, who've had strokes. To give you a closer local look, the workshop we had this morning, it was 14 out of a group of 20 that had high blood pressure, another 6 out of that group that had diabetes, and another 4 that had stroke. So what do these programs do? This is a Stanford-based program model. I'm a master trainer, and I went to Stanford to be trained because I wanted to look at job creation. When I became a master trainer, what it allows me to do is to train individuals from the community to deliver this very high comprehensive program, which you have to maintain the fidelity of that program very closely. And it encourages those folks that are now getting trained with that program, the UCLA memory program, to go back to school, possibly for CNA, possibly in the health field, but to learn how to deliver a very detailed curriculum. And if we look at access in the community, the recent 2013 indicators from public health report that the access to the difficulty in accessing medical care in SPA 6 is 44.6% compared to 31.7% in LA County. And diabetes per 100,000 population, deaths are 34.1% as compared to 20.2% in LA County. So the idea of how are these programs working, they're reducing readmissions in hospitals, which is draining Medicare Part D. They are really in a sustainable mode. We just have not had enough time to scale up to the Affordable Care Act's reimbursable for diabetes. And so we need the time to be able, and I would say 3 years, to be able to scale up to that model, which is very, very cost effective. And you were able to work with the insurance companies, you're able to work directly with the hospitals. Individuals go into hospitals. When you have diabetes and you go to a safety net hospital like MLK, you're seen one time. You're given a health education class for 3 hours. And on an average, those same patients maintain a high glucose level over the next 5 years. Many of the Hispanic population are blind. I currently work with that particular hospital receiving patients and providing them a place to come and get the services to learn how to, why did I go blind? Well, you didn't know you shouldn't eat rice and beans at night before you go to bed, and do that over a period of 5 years, and now your sight is being lost. Or you didn't know how to manage your medication or communicate with your doctor, or read labels on the back of a nutrition labels on the back of food, and it goes on and on. So these are very valuable locally, I believe, to Los Angeles County to reduce the drain on Medicare, and even on a national level, and the state of California to reduce the drain on the Medicare costs. In job development, I was listening to the address from President Obama's State of the Union address to create jobs. And I believe that he is also motivated to sustain jobs. And if we were to lose these programs, there would be hundreds of jobs lost. And so we are really advocating, as I know you are. We know we have partners and champions in this council, and I want to thank you for that. But I wanted to paint a picture of where we're at today. Those 11 sites that we do these programs at now that have changed their health behaviors will no longer have us there. The patients that we're able to pick up now and provide workshops for will no longer have those workshops to help them to stay out of the hospitals weekly. So I just want to thank you very much for your time, and I wanted to give you a picture of what the team is doing on the ground, and I wanted to give you a picture of also job development. This is also developing people and skills. These are evidence-based programs that have to be certified to conduct, and some of these folks never took a class at UCLA or Stanford or anywhere else, but they're learning this curriculum and they're delivering it in a very efficient way, and we don't want to see that work stop. Thank you very much.
Let me say, and I know I'm speaking for my colleagues, but it helps us when you give us a timetable for us to anticipate for the choices we have to make. And so it really, I think it's been very helpful for us to think that, because we're new here, right? And it helps us think about how do we use our prior experiences with the legislature, looking for bridge funding with the federal government so that they understand, if we don't do this, we undermine all these great other efforts that are coming down the pike. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got Jesus Raul Salinas and Nancy Volpert. Want to translate?
Sure. Donde guste.
This guy needs
Yeah, bye.
translation.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Go translate.
Sure.
Somos bilingües en parte.
Oh, well, this is better for me. Thank you very much.
Perfecto, no se preocupe, yo voy a traducir para usted.
Gracias. Mi nombre es Jesús Raúl Salinas.
My name is Jesús Raúl Salinas.
Soy jornalero.
I am a... ¿Dónde trabaja?
Hace 10 años llegué a IDESCA, que es el Instituto de Educación Popular del Sur de California.
So I'm a day laborer, and after 16 years, a ver, pero ando un poquito...
¿IDESCA?
Anda con IDEPSCA.
Instituto de Educación Popular del Sur de California. No nomás es una agencia de trabajo.
It's not just a job placement agency.
Es una agencia donde a nosotros se nos brindan clases como de inglés, como de computación, de educación popular.
It's also a place where we can get education services like computer skills. Ando un poco despacio, pregunta. Sorry. English skills, yeah.
Computer.
Yeah, there you go. Mr. Cedillo is earning his pay today. And other...
Gracias. Como jornalero que soy, trabajo un día, 2 a la semana, en veces una semana completa o agarro un trabajo de 2-3 meses.
As a day laborer, I'll occasionally work 1 day, 2 days, sometimes complete weeks for months, but it's not always certain.
Sí, y pues a través de estos 10 años que he estado ahí en IDESCA,
After the last 10 years that I've been with IDEPSCA,
he visto con preocupación que debido a los problemas económicos del país,
I've noticed that a lot of us are worried about some of the economic problems that the country is facing.
se ha venido recortando en la ayuda que se nos ha dado, ¿verdad? La partida presupuestal para IDEPSCA.
We've noticed that there's a lot of cuts that have been made to funding, in particular to IDEPSCA.
Cerramos ya 2 centros de trabajo, se han recortado horas de trabajo.
We know that centers have been closed and hours have been closed for different work source centers.
Ayer cuando oí que nuestros líderes, nuestros coordinadores hablaban de venir a hablar sobre la partida presupuestal para nosotros.
And yesterday when I heard about some of our supervisors and staff at the agency talking about some of the cuts that were being made and the trip to City Hall,
prácticamente me asusté.
Practically I got very scared.
Porque se hablaba de recortes presupuestales y dije, pues si ya nos falta papel para el sanitario o ya no tenemos agua caliente, ahora qué va a pasar, ¿verdad?
So we heard about the cuts, and I was very concerned, and it means a lot of cuts to the agency and to all of our well-being.
Entonces, yo creo que les pido por favor que a la hora de hacer partidas presupuestales,
So I'm asking you, please, when you're making these budget decisions,
nos ayuden,
that you help us.
Porque al pueblo de California le ha gustado verme a mí empujando un Dali, descargando un container.
Because the state of California has seen me work, either pushing a dolly or unloading containers.
O haciendo una mudanza.
Or moving things.
Y no le va a gustar, yo creo, verme en el Skid Row pidiendo una ayuda, una moneda, una cora.
And no one's going to want to see me on Skid Row begging for a coin or a quarter.
Entonces les pido por favor que a la hora de hacer esa decisión no nomás abran sus corazones sino sus mentes también.
So I'm asking you, before you make those types of decisions, don't just open your heart, but use your head.
Gracias, es todo.
Thank you.
Eso. Nancy.
Gee, thanks. I'm Nancy Volpert. I'm the Director of Public Policy for Jewish Family Service of Los Angeles. We are celebrating our 160th anniversary this year, and we are a provider of multiple social services to people who are at risk and vulnerable across the city. And I will not repeat what my colleagues in the aging services community have already said, but we are thankful to the Mayor's Office and to the Council for realizing that these services are critically important to seniors from across the city, and that as you look for whatever that other funding source is, we are deeply appreciative, and if we can be of assistance, thank you. On the domestic violence services side, we are also a provider of shelter and counseling services to survivors. And one of the things that I would just add to what Ben and some of my other colleagues have said is that domestic violence is a leading cause of homelessness in our community. And so when you are looking to provide housing and safety, you are also providing economic opportunity, shelter, stability, and a path to self-sufficiency. And we are currently slated, it may sound like not much with 400,000 plus cut, but that's more than 20% of the city-funded budget for shelter operations. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Marlon. Señor Marlon Portillo and Deborah Sue. Sir.
How many copies do you have? How many copies?
You're going in order?
Good afternoon. My name is Marlon Portillo. How are you?
¿Quiere que traduzca?
No, it's fine.
Está bien, perfecto, gracias.
I can try. It's a good practice for my English.
It's good practice for my Spanish.
Oh, okay. Next time I will do it in Spanish.
La próxima, okay.
I just want to say that we have been working the last 20 years with the communities, the so-called vulnerable communities, populations. We're not that vulnerable, but I just want to say that I'm grateful with the Mayor's Office, with the former CDD that is including the delivery program as an attachment I. But I want to be clear that as Executive Director at IDEPSCA, I oppose the cuts, any cuts, because we have received 32% cuts so far. And this is what is going to happen. I share with you our 6 months of work. So if you cut us, you are cutting 1,308 jobs in the next 7 months. You are cutting the opportunity for people to recover and pay wages, or people that is being ripped off because they do perform their job, particularly the laborers and household workers. And you're cutting that. You're cutting, like, we recovered $12,528 enough salaries for the workers. And so, as you can see in the charts, we have done the best that we can. And lately I have been meeting everywhere, and we believe us, we are really creative, we have a lot of inventive. We do a lot with that little money. So the city is just investing like around $14 for everyday laborer. And I believe I'm strong in this part. I'm talking not only on behalf of IDEPSCA, but also Carecen and YPI. We have one of the most successful delivery programs that you can find nationwide. So all this work that has been done in the last 17 years is going to go nowhere. People is going to go back to the streets. So you will triple the stakeholders, the community complaints. You will have to deploy more resources. So what I'm talking is help us to prevent, and that's all that I wanted to address. So we oppose very emotional any cuts. Thank you.
Deborah.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Su. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for the Pacific Asian Family, an organization that supports survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault here in Los Angeles. We provide our services in over 30 Asian languages and specializing folks who can't find other places to go. I think you've been hearing a lot of numbers and really great need that's out there, but I wanted to tell you just one story about Edward. Edward was 2 when he came to us in our shelter, and he was abused since he was conceived. His mom had fled Cambodia and had been in this relationship that was very violent, and her child was being abused since he was conceived. And when he came to us, he had all kinds of medical issues, liver problems, that as a 2-year-old, he had to be on antibiotics constantly to ensure that he would survive. I'm very happy to say that as she escaped the relationship, he became to thrive. And he not only was able to get off of his meds and become healthy and a very productive member of our society, but he's one of the most gentle men I've seen. He went to UC Irvine, got his degree. He's coming back. He actually works for the city, but he came back and started volunteering with us. So the amount of money that you are investing in domestic violence services not only help the survivors that are with us today, but the children who we invest in to break that cycle of violence, and they can go on to have productive, nonviolent lives. So $400,000, it's not a lot of money, but as Nancy said, it's over 20% cut for us. It's a very small pot, so I wanted to ask you to restore it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Veronica Olmos and Lorda Alvarado.
Good afternoon, Veronica Olmos with Central City Neighborhood Partners. I'm the executive director, and I'm proud to say we're in the first district. So, I'm sitting here today and hearing all of these wonderful stories and how this is really going to impact so many. And I just really wanted to go on public record and commend the mayor's office, HCID, all of you for the work that you're doing and really trying to look at different strategies on how can we get the most for our dollar, and looking at other innovative ways on how we can restore funding to CBDOs and looking at congressional actions that can change some of that, by trying to get the public services cap increase. And so I just really want to thank you all for those efforts. And really the impact, I know that, we're talking about this, but with the FSC money that has been allocated, we've served over 148,000 as a coalition. And so, we're going to do our best and trying to meet the need and any gaps that happen through this, through these challenging times. And so I just want to thank you again.
Thank you, Veronica. Lorda.
Thank you. Appreciate the time to see us. And I'm here. My name is Lloyd Alvarado. I'm with the National Day Labor Organizing Network, and we're here on behalf of the labor centers. The economy we've created depends on a lot on temporary workers, and that is why day labor centers have provided labor to American households for many years, and also to small business, has allowed small businesses to thrive. We also know that workers centers have brought transparency and safety to the transaction between employers and employees, in this case, day laborers. They also have been centers where wage theft and health and safety issues have been alleviated through training, leadership, and equipment. And we have seen that the working conditions of workers have improved. And so we just want to urge you to continue funding these day labor centers fully. The city has always been a leader in fair and humane treatment of workers and immigrants, and we just want to urge you to continue doing that. And in terms of public safety, day labor centers have improved community liaisons between day laborers and the community police and all that. So we want to continue doing that work. So we urge you to please continue funding centers fully and not really do any cuts to their budget. Thank you.
Can we have Steve Diaz and Ariana Alcaraz? No, Steve Diaz? No, Ariana Alcaraz?
There's some folks next door. She's listening to the meeting.
Okay. Last call, Steve Diaz, and last call, Ariana Alcaraz. I'll hold their cards. Sarah Burdine and Juan Carlos Munguia.
Yes, my name is Sarah Burdine, and I'm the Executive Director of Haven Hills. We've been serving victims of domestic violence in the San Fernando Valley for 37 years. And I want to thank the mayor, and I also want to thank the city council members, as well as the housing department folks that have been working on this consolidated plan for their efforts. Because I really wouldn't know how to even begin to look at the scope of the work and all of the services that need to be preserved. But I have to speak up for victims of domestic violence. Over the past many years, we have been seeing significant cuts year after year in domestic violence. And here in the 40th Consolidated Plan, we're looking at another approximately $500,000 cut to the domestic violence shelter programs throughout LA. And any reduction in funding really greatly reduces the availability of the safe housing for women and children fleeing for their lives. And I would like to say to you, if there is any way possible, please preserve the funding, the $400,000 that you're cutting, because it really is a public safety issue, and it will cost the city in the long run more money if the safety net services aren't there through the programs. Thank you.
Good point.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity that you've provided for us to come and share the progress that our city is making. And I would like to, first of all, commend you on all the beautiful work that you guys are doing. And I would like to take this moment to share with you the wonderful work that IDEPSCA is doing throughout the day labor programs. I would like to share that it's been opening up opportunities for men such as myself. It's given me a lot of education. It's given me job opportunities. It's even opened up new job opportunities. And I have actually updated my computer skills, and I'm also working on bettering my medical skills because we do have a lot of resources at our day labor programs. So I would like to, if I may, suggest that you keep on funding programs such as these, because they do come as a benefit to our communities, and we would like to also probably give back to our communities in voluntary services. I would like to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Can we have Jojo Smith and Toby Quintiliani? Hey, Toby. Well, you're... Okay.
The other one's not here?
Jojo Smith. No Jojo Smith.
Okay.
Okay, can Mario Lopez join us? Okay. We have Sean Gregory. Here comes Mario. Mario. Okay. Toby.
Hello, my name is Toby Quintiliani, and I am with 1736 Family Crisis Center. I am the senior director there, and I want to start by thanking you all so much for the hard work you're doing on this plan. I know that it's difficult to have to cut things, and it's hard work, and we all respect that. We run a Family Source Center in South LA, and we also run 2 domestic violence shelters in the city of LA. So we have 2 places where funding is likely to be cut with this plan. My colleagues, I think, have spoken very well about the Family Source Centers. We've run it for a very long time. When it was FDN, we've helped thousands of people rise out of poverty, and we hope that the funding can stay stable there. What I want to say about the domestic violence shelters and the potential $493,000 cut there is that the 10 agencies who received that funding, and it will result in a 20% cut just about, will result in us possibly having to close beds. If we have to close beds, that will result in an increase in homelessness. At the last homeless count, we know that homelessness is up 16%, and there was an increase of 5% in domestic violence homelessness. So we know this is the wrong direction for the city.
I also want to bring up the very important topic of public safety, because when a domestic violence victim is not safe in shelter, this gives the police more work to do out on the streets. It makes the streets a more dangerous place. So I hope you will consider trying to help us find funding elsewhere to make that whole, and so that we can all rest easy and not see any cuts in either the Family Source Centers or our domestic violence programs. And thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Lopez. I'm not related to the actor, but the day labor program here in Los Angeles. Okay. I represent the day labor centers, and also on behalf of all the laborers that usually come to our centers. And I have, as a matter of fact, behind me, about 15, 18 workers that show up to support and to be grateful to you, because you are recommending to have the centers open and to have a budget to operate the year. But what we are concerned that for the last 5 years, we have a lot of budget cuts, and that means that we provide less services, less jobs, less programs, less classes, less resources to all day laborers, but also just day laborers. And since the crisis and the economy, we have many community members that are usually called day labor themselves. They're not identified being a day labor, but come to day labor centers to look for job opportunities. So in 6 months, we were able to acquire 7,000 jobs to provide to 21,000 individual jobs and services and referrals, and collect more than $35,000 in back wages. So please, thank you for giving us the opportunity to operate, to continue to provide these services, but please give us full support. If we have more cuts, we are not going to be able to provide all these great services, but also it's going to be very difficult to serve all the people in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. I have James Smith, and I saw Martha Arevalo outside.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is James Smith. I'm the president of Yes Youth Bill, and I've had the pleasure of being housed in a Family Source Center since Mayor Tom Bradley opened the Family Source Center in Watts in 1993-94. Since that time, I've had 10 HUD Youth Bill grants operating out of the Bradley Milken Center, and thus we have had 20 graduations, graduating over 50 young persons, 16 to 24, without a high school diploma. I have seen young people come into the Bradley Milken Family Source Center one way and leave another way, very positive, head up high. I have seen young people run into the center when other young people were shooting at them, so I know the center served as a safe haven for young people. I feel good when I see young people come into the center in the evening and they have meals there to feed the young kids who might not have had meals before they got there. During the time that I have been in the Bradley Milken Center for over 20 years now, I know the importance of those doors staying open. So I'm here speaking on behalf of the nonprofit agencies that are in the Bradley Milken Center, Family Source Center, and I'm here to say that anything that we can do to support what you're doing to keep those doors open, we want to do that. I'm here to also say and share with you that the Milken Family Foundation, which has been in the Bradley Milken Center for more than 20 years now, are still partners with the city and are still partners with the Family Source Center. And they're there to not only put new computers in every 2 years, but to bring other resources. I don't know what I can say with what HUD has done to make the cuts in the 39th session, but for this 40th session, whatever the council has to do, we would like to let you know that we wish you well, and we're there to support you as you keep the doors open at the Bradley Milken Center. And the changes that you have to make, we want you to know that we're willing to make changes too, to do a better job. We are already a 4-star agency. We have been a 4-star agency for the last 4 years. So we toot our horns, but we toot our horns by providing quality service to a needed community. So, once again, I'm here on behalf of my peers in the center, the reentry program Friends Outside, the food program, the Milliken Family Foundation, and the Youth Build family. We are also about economic development. And we believe that if you build in Watts, you should hire in Watts. And we just want to let you know that not only have the Youth Build program been operating out of the center in Watts, but we have also placed a number of young people in jobs in Watts. And we want to continuously do that. And we want you to know that we support what you're doing. And we're sorry that HUD had to take the hard-nosed position that they have taken with the city. But it wasn't the first time that HUD has had to take hard-nosed decisions. We used to have our Youth Build program in HUD. Now we have it in DOL, and we continuously don't look back, we look forward, and we want you to know that we're here to do whatever we can to keep the doors open so that we can become a 4-star center for the 5th year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Marta Arevalo. I'm the Executive Director of the Central American Resource Center, Carecen, and I'm also very proud to say that we are in Council District 1.
That's right.
Carecen has a day labor center that has been in operation for the last 10 years. This is going to be our 10-year anniversary. And every day we serve between 100 to 120 day laborers who are part of a community that is the most in need, the most disenfranchised, the most vulnerable, with the least amount of resources and support services available. And Carecen's Day Labor Center and IDEPSCA's Day Labor Centers and our other partners' Day Labor Centers serve as a safe haven, not only for day laborers to be able to get jobs every day and to stimulate the local economy and the state economy, but also a safe haven for the community, because there is a lot of tension in the corner where we have our day labor center. Our day labor center really plays a critical role not only in the job creation piece, but also a critical role in dealing with that tension, a critical role with providing a safe haven, a safe space for the day laborers, for them to integrate into society. It's become more than just a day labor center, but an immigrant integration center. And we have heard reports from local tenants, local business owners, and security personnel in that particular corner that when Carecen Day Labor Center is closed, it really is chaotic. And because of the cuts that we have had suffered in the last 10 years, we've had to cut hours of service and days of service. And so we really support your work. We know that it's not an easy task. We recognize that, but we really hope that you also support continuous funding for these centers where, for this investment, the city gets back so much more. Also, in the last 3 years, we have been able to leverage additional private funding. We received a grant from the California Wellness Foundation where we are now $275,000 that also comes in to provide services to people that live in the city. And we provide now health services out of our day labor center. And if we had to close our doors, then that is funding and additional dollars that comes to our residents that will also be lost. So again, thank you for your hard work, and I hope that you know that we're here to support you, but I hope that you understand that we're talking about people's lives. Thank you.
Martha, let me ask you, on your healthcare, who's your partner?
St. Vincent's Hospital.
Oh, great. Mm-hmm. And you guys can't do ACA enrollment because of your population, but you're working with their FQHC? Or?
I mean, we do some education around ACA because not everybody is undocumented, but it is definitely limited.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can close with Pastor Stuart Parham. Young man.
Just got here from Houston, Texas at midnight last night for my grandma's 95th birthday party.
All right.
And before that, I was in D.C. talking to our director, Sean Donovan, trying to get a meeting with him. I only got to meet with his administrators. I have known you when you were in state office, and all of these brilliant men I have met, Mr. Wesson. I don't think I know you, Mr. Fuentes. I've seen you do some phenomenal work over and over again. And I'm right here on behalf of the Bradley Milken Center because I volunteer there. I tutor after school. I was employed when HUD was putting more money in for Mr. Smith. And several of those young men that were in the Youth Build program are in unions because older men in the community that had worked those unions till retirement came alongside of us because they saw that I was getting them jobs, OJT, on-the-job training, because Mr. Smith had helped them become job ready. And I count 4 of them are still in state trade unions. They started accepting my apprentices at 4th period apprentice on a 9 apprentice scale, straight from the Bradley Milken Center, where they also got a high school diploma. These family source centers are the last line of defense for prevention of dysfunction. Like he said, young people walk in one way and they come out a different way. They will always be encountered by a person who's a strong member of a family, no matter what, when they walk in there, because there's so many volunteers. The location is the best thing for all of these family source centers I'm seeing, even in East LA and all around the city. And so I say this to close. You know, one man came up and wanted to appeal to your head as much as your heart. Well, I'm going to take it back to your heart because I am a preacher. And, you know, when God closes one door, he always opens another for his people. Well, I want to begin to praise him in the hallway, y'all, because I know you men have some, and the women that are on this committee have some type of way to keep the funding in the right place. I've seen you do magic. I've seen you do things. For the 25 years I've lived in Los Angeles and made it my home. And so I want to appeal to you that this attachment be re-advised and take it to committee, and then, you know, even to the centers for them to downsize at certain things, and then we can work this thing out.
Thank you, Pastor. You keep us in your prayers.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fuentes?
So I have a couple of things that I want to say, but I will be brief because I know that we've been going long, Mr. Chair. You know, I want to thank again all the folks who are participating and helping us understand, which we do, but I think it's always helpful, Mr. Chair, to have so many people come and give testimony to how effective your programming and how vital it is to the stability of all of our communities. And so I absolutely appreciate it. So I know that we've talked about the service component, and there's other elements that the Community Development Block Grant provides communities, and I wanted to ask the CLA to report back for me, if they would, at our next meeting on a couple of things. The first would be to report back on the feasibility of providing funding for the following projects and programs. The Healthy Pacoima Community Program, which would include the following program elements. It would include the Van Nuys Boulevard Retail Incentive Program, an art incubator acquisition, streetscape improvements, a neighborhood city hall tenant improvements. And if I'm going fast, I apologize. I will make sure that you get a copy of this, but for the record, I'd also ask that in that report we address Council District 7 Safe and Clean Action Program, which would include the following program elements. A Clean Streets, Clean Neighborhoods Program, a Sunland Tahunga Foothill Boulevard Median Project, Silmar Community Park, and a Sepulveda Boulevard Median Project. So that would be number one. Number two, I would ask that the CLA and the Housing Department report back on the feasibility of beginning the discussion relative to the implementation of a neighborhood revitalization strategy area, also known as a NERSA model, as described by HUD for purposes of creating a long-term funding strategy for the CBDO program. Number three, I'd ask the CLA to report back on the scope of work and or program deliverables for the Handy Worker program as it relates to the last 2 program years and for the upcoming 40th program year. Number four, I would direct the CLA to report back on the funding status of the summer youth program and a rollout plan for the coming season. Number five, ask the CLA to report back on the scope and work and expected deliverables for the city attorney's CARE, TARP, and citywide residential nuisance abatement program, and to focus on if these programs will be integrated or work separately. And the last direction that I would ask for the CLA to report back on is on the scope of work and expected deliverables for the 4 economic development programs proposed for funding, line item 66 through 69 on attachment B. Given that those funds are not administrative dollars, how much job creation would be expected from those funds? And I will make sure to give you a copy, as is tradition, of those actions, please. Thanks.
Mr. Price?
I too want to just thank those who testified today and who are present. We're certainly becoming better informed about the women's shelters, the mental illness programs, senior aging programs, domestic violence youth programs, day labor programs. The testimony was thoughtful and informative, and I think the real point that everyone was making, these investments are in people, and that really is what's making a difference in our community. Many of you are activists, pioneers, going back a long time, and you've certainly been sensitive to the real challenges that we are faced with, providing services with reduced resources. That's something you are very familiar with doing, and so we don't envy that at all. But we are going to be deliberating. I understand we'll be getting a report back in a couple of weeks, certainly on the proposals that individual organizations have made, proposals that the council offices have made, and we'll continue to fight for and advocate for to make sure that all of our communities are represented and that the resources are there so that you can help do the jobs that are so important in our community. So again, I just want to thank you for your testimony. Know that it is not going on deaf ears, and that the appeals have reached the hearts and the heads. And so again, we thank you for your participation.
Let me put this on the record. I want to direct the CLA to report on the mayor's budget for the 40th program year of the CON plan with the assistance of the CAOH, CID, EWDD, and any other necessary departments. So I want to put that on the record. We're going to continue the item for 2 weeks. But let me join the chorus here about hearts and minds. I have so much respect for the work that you do. As I said, we're here on this side of the table, but we've spent many years on your side of the table, and so I have so much respect and admiration for what you do. Know that we're going to do all that we can. I assure you that it's not going to be what it is today. I don't know what it's going to be. Pastor, you keep us in your prayers and pray for financial blessings for those who deserve and need. So we are going to move forward, but I really want to applaud you today because there's a maturity in this community here of understanding that we're all in this together and that all of us together we can figure this out. I'm confident that things are going to get better. When the ACA kicks in, where so many of us are excited about the prospects of bringing more resources that impact so much of the work and the people you deal with. And think about that. If we can get to a point where everybody in this nation is insured, that so many of the services you provide are so closely and so intimate to healthcare delivery. And so if we can get more resources, then it will make our work easy and will free up other resources for us. We're not done. Mr. Fuentes and I and Mr. Price served in the legislature, and we're going to have a conversation. Because when the state had a surplus 16 years ago, those dollars came back to the district. The state has a surplus today, and I hope we can use our influence to at least ask. Right? It might be a no, but we should ask at least. And those who've worked with us up there, and those who we work with, those who come and knock on our doors for support, we're going to ask them to ask that surplus, because if all we need is some bridge money, then we're in a great spot. Now we know where we're at. We're not lost in the middle of the ocean. We just need to get, we're right to shore. We just need a little help getting up. And so we're going to do all that we can. We're going to use our resources. We're going to use our experiences, and we're going to be guided by you, touching our hearts and our minds. So thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.